Hi everyone, Aiden here with etrailer. If you have a 2022 Toyota Sienna and you're looking for a bike rack that can accommodate your family of 4, but be converted down to a 2-bike rack when it's just you or a friend going out, then I think the Benton Shifts&Grins could be a really good option for you. Today we're going to take a look at some of the unique features of it and see how it fits on our Sienna. So follow along and we'll get started. Now, some features about the rack I want to go over first are the wide range of bikes it accommodates. It's going to be a good fit for any bike with a nice paint job, carbon frame, or maybe even on an alternative frame, because this hook can attach to the front tire and make zero frame contact around our bike. But it also has the option to hook onto the frame of the bike itself. These hooks are completely removable, so you can set the arm up in the appropriate place, ratchet this down over your frame, and it's a good option if you've got fenders and you don't want to attach that front tire. Or for the case of a kid's bike with a much smaller frame, it can ratchet down really low. So those smaller frames shouldn't be any problem when hooking up, which is good because you're probably looking at this for a family bike rack. And with all of that, you get a really good weight capacity. Each tray on this 4-bike carrier is capable of carrying up to 55 pounds. So really good option if you do have some e-bikes, maybe not your heavier e-bikes because there's certainly heavier capacities out there, but 55 pounds for all 4 is still pretty good. Now, like I mentioned in the intro, this bike rack can be converted between a 2 and a 4 bike rack really quickly and easily, and we'll see that a little bit more later in the video. But one of the things I like most about that feature is that it relocates the tilting mechanism to the outer edge of the 4-bike carrier, making it really easy to operate just by pushing this button. And you've got a handle on the top to very easily let it down. And there will be a stopper on the bottom because in the 4-bike configuration, it's quite long and it's gonna hit that stopper before it bottoms out. Unfortunately, what that means for us on our very large lift gate for the Sienna here is that we don't have the proper clearance to fully open up that back hatch. It's extremely tight around my pedal here, comes very close to the bike, and you can see once we get to the handlebars, we're just out of luck. But this is still enough room to reach in and grab something like a helmet or a change of shoes if we needed to. And we're not even halfway tilted down. If you had this in the 2-bike configuration, I think you'd be able to clear just fine. So it's just one of those things. If you are frequently switching between those 2 versions of the bike rack, and you're not always going out with your family, it might be an issue that you hardly ever run into at all, depending on how often you're actually tilting it when it's fully loaded with 4 bikes. When getting the bike unloaded though, there's gonna be 2 wheel straps at the bottom of each cradle. That's gonna be your first step because they're not actually holding the bike upright. Just press this button, pull the ratcheting strap out, and just tilt it away to the side. And then that hook is gonna have a release button, push up, and if you wanna fully remove it, you can, but I like just pushing the arm out. This is gonna give us a lot easier access to our bike, even on the inner cradle here, which is usually hard to reach. I can step in, grab the bike, and lift it away without having to worry about too many obstructions here in the middle. A few measurements we can check out first before we fold it up though is gonna be our ground clearance. Where we sit at the back end, it's about 15.5 inches from the ground. It's not too bad normally, but this is a really long rack, so I think you might want to watch out for steep driveways and hills considering how long it is, but we at least get a good rise from that already low to the ground hitch on our Sienna. Now that length added to the back from the bumper to the furthest point out, we're sitting at 55.5 inches, almost 5 feet. So if you are driving around with it in the 4-bike configuration like this, just be aware that your already long vehicle is going to be that much longer. Just be mindful of it as you're pulling into parking spots and driving around because it's a lot of length to add to your vehicle. For storage though, we can fold it upright by pressing that same button that we did before, only this time pushing it upright where it will lock in and save us a lot of space when we're driving around. From the bumper now, we're only sticking out 19 inches, so it's way more manageable, but this is going to be pretty bulky on the back of your vehicle. Luckily, it's fairly open, so you can still see your license plate pretty well. You should get a decent amount of visibility with your backup camera through here, and it doesn't really stick up into the back window very much either. Our taillights on the edges remain pretty visible here, and luckily the bike rack isn't so wide that it really starts to get in the way of things like our turn signals. So I think overall you should be in a pretty good position if you do choose to ride with it like this. This is a good option if you just like to leave it in the hitch between uses. Now at the bottom, it's working with our 2" by 2" receiver tube here, and it does come with an anti-rattle bolt that keeps things nice and solid in the hitch so it doesn't shake around and rattle. One unique thing it includes though is this hitch pin alignment stopper. All you gotta do to set that up is get it in your hitch pinned in for the first time, take this hand knob when it's loose, push it against the collar of your hitch, and tighten it down. Now, every subsequent time that we take it out and put it back into the hitch, it's gonna hit that stopper and align the hitch pin hole in the first try. With a heavier bike rack like this, that's gonna be extremely handy. There are other racks out there that utilize something like this, but I like the way Benton does it really well because it's very easy to adjust tool-free and it gives you a large range of adjustment. So it's super easy to set up, and this stopper is going to be really large, so I don't think you'll have any issues with it shifting around over time either. And like I mentioned earlier, that conversion between the 2 and 4 bike is pretty easy. It's tool-free too, so all you gotta do is remove this pin and retaining clip and loosen up this hand knob. Now, this would probably be better when it's flat already, but I've got it tilted up just to show you a bit easier. I'll go ahead and press that button and carefully lower it down since the two halves are kind of separated now. And what you can just do is grab the extension by the handle, lift up, and pull straight out. And that's it. All you gotta do then is just set it in your garage until it's ready to use again. And the button to tilt and fold it is now just right on the outside of that 2-bike carrier. So no tools, no relocation of that. It's just ready to rock and roll. And one final unique thing about the rack itself, not necessarily how it fits on the Sienna, is the folding shank. There's gonna be a pin right here by our second tray that we can pull, along with pushing that button to tilt it, and push the whole rack towards the shank there. From here, you can just get those folded all the way up together, and you can see here from the side profile, it makes things much more narrow. So storing this in your garage becomes that much easier, takes up way less space than having the shank stick straight out. It's still gonna be a heavy rack, so moving it to and from your garage might be a little bit of a struggle for some people, but I still think it's a really solid option. Now, aside from the 4-bike version not fully clearing the back hatch of the Sienna, I'm still really pleased with how it worked on the van. Everything from the ground clearance and the capability of the rack itself was really good. The bikes didn't come too close to the back of the van either, which I liked. And overall, I think if you're looking for versatility, the ability to convert between a 2 and a 4 bike and still have good capacity, I think this is a really good way to go and not break the bank by choosing a good value option. But today, this was just our look at the 4-bike version of the Benton Shifts&Grins on our 2022 Toyota Sienna. My name's Aiden, and thank you for watching.